This week on Weigh In, Omega Boy asserts authority on the Japan Trophy for the Central Districts. Undercard action from around the country with Platinum Pantheon the headline act for the 3-year-olds. Autumn is well and truly in the air as Chris Waller and J-Mac look poised to dominate another carnival. Plus, we've got industry news, industry updates with NZTR CEO Matt Ballesty. All of that to look forward to this morning on Weigh In. Great to have your company on the show. We've got a good lineup. Jayne Ivil Bruce Sherwin sitting right beside me to guide you through all of the action from yesterday. Plus, as you heard there, some industry updates as well. Very good morning to both of you. Bruce, a good day yesterday, Tauranga's feature meeting, and it went off with a bang.
Absolutely. It's a transition, isn't it, from Champions Day, the huge day at Ellerslie last week. It was Tauranga's big day yesterday with the Ultimate Mazda Japan New Zealand Trophy, a special day for them, the Group 2 feature. And we're also building into the autumn in Australia.
Yeah, it was fantastic viewing, wasn't it, out of Sydney yesterday as we talk about autumn and the championship there. And I think the Golden Slipper, we saw a slightly better picture for that race in a week's time. And just again, watching the dominance of Chris Waller and James McDonald was just incredible. So I say it often, but it's a great time of year to be a racing fan. And I actually really enjoyed yesterday afternoon watching things heat up in Sydney.
Yeah, and it's only going to continue, isn't it, as we work through the next few weekends across the Tasman. For now, though, we need to go back to our feature meeting from yesterday and our feature race, which was, of course, the Group 2 Japan Trophy. Let's go back and relive the action.
Horses are heading out onto the track for our Ultimate Mazda Japan Trophy Group 2 feature. Sterling Express is the favourite. Omega Boy and Picture Shot, nice draw as well for that CD visitor.
Yeah, he's another horse that sort of paraded really nice.
So they're filing away for the 7th of the day and our feature race on the program.
The 55th edition of the Ultimate Mazda Japan Trophy. Omega Boy will be the last one in. Stand by for the start. Gates are back, they're off and racing. Leroy Brown out wide, got the best off the start. Chattahoochee and Pacifico are right there, as is Capra, as anticipated from the inside gate. Then came next was Omega Boy, followed round them by Sterling Express. There is 9 lengths over the field, 600 out in the Ultimate Mazda Japan Trophy. They turn for home, Sterling Express dash to the lead. Favoured went clear by 3 from Kelly Alpha Russia. Further back Omega Boy, it's Sterling Express. Calf is coming after, so is Omega Boy! Omega Boy from the CD gets the win. Omega Boy beats Sterling Express. If we look at the reaction of Sam McNabb and one of his career big wins, he finished with a great turn of foot over the concluding stages, trained by Peter and Trent Didham at Awapuni. Well done to them.
Yeah, Sam McNabb, he loves winning races here. Of course, he was able to pick up the Wait for Age feature here in November, and now he picks up another big scalp with Omega Boy. He loved it on the line.
Great training effort by Trent and Peter as well. And the horse paraded, he looked like a treat, and well-timed ride by Sam as well.
We're in a nice spot, one off, and then went to the fence. And once Michael got going, I got on the back of him and gave me a beautiful track into the race, and just had to run down the leader, and he did that. To get these wins after working quite hard, it's definitely rewarding.
Yeah, well done to all of the connections. Omega Boy taking home the top honours at Tauranga yesterday. Peter and Trent Didham, the trainers of Omega Boy, and we can link in with Peter Didham now. Peter, huge congratulations. A really good feature win yesterday. What were you thinking heading in? Because your horse was in good form, wasn't he?
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for having me on, everyone. Look, we were super pleased with him. He'd gone great races. He'd only been beaten 3 weeks in the Group 1, and we give him a soft kill at Hara. And I thought he was underrated, and I thought he was paying great money yesterday. And, you know, we're all very confident that he'd go top 3. So, no, very happy to get a result.
Well done, Peter. Tell us a bit about the ownership group behind this horse.
Yeah, thanks. Look, we know that syndicates race a lot of horses these days, and it's very rare to have a 1 or a 2-man ownership. So look, they deserve everything they get. They're great payers. They're good, loyal customers. They've got a couple of horses with me now. They've been with me. I've been in training 5 years. They've been with me for about 4 years. And look, I have some strange ideas about training, and they just let me go with it. So I'm pretty lucky. They're fantastic people.
We might have to touch on some of those strange ideas, but before we do that, Dids, congratulations to you firstly. You've only travelled 2 horses up to Tauranga and have both been winners, so you're obviously selecting the right horses to travel with. But also when we look at the statistics this season with the partnership between you and Trent, you're just going so well. Tell us a little bit about that relationship.
Yeah, look, he did 2 years at McPrice and a couple of years at John O'Shea's, and he brings youth as enthusiasm. And look, he's got some young friends that are taking some shares in horses. And look, we get on really well and we bounce our ideas off each other. And it's a really good partnership. And look, we're off to Adelaide together on Tuesday to buy more yearlings. We got 8 yearlings at Cracker. We're looking at 3 or 4 more at Adelaide. So we've got a nice young team coming through. We only train 25 to 30, and that's a good fit for us. But yeah, we're really pleased with the way it's going.
Peter, winning the trophy yesterday, the Japan Trophy, it comes with a trip for 2 to Japan. So how's the relationship with Trent and yourself in those discussions, and who gets the tickets?
Yeah, well, like I said, I normally sort of look a bit better than this, but I've been up all night practicing my Japanese. So we had a quick discussion, but he's young. There's plenty of times for him. Look, my wife does the books. She runs a couple of the syndicates. She full-time job at the hospital working in mental health and has to look after me. So she deserves every trip she can get.
Tell us, what do you do with the Mega Boy from here? Where are you targeting next?
Now, I've just been talking to the owner. He come on really well. He's licked his bowl clean and just walked him down to a grass paddock for a day and a half, and then he'll have a swim the next day. But we're actually going to go and try him at a staying distance. We're going to run the Awapuni Gold Cup over 2-1. I'm very keen to. I think he'll stay. There's not a lot in his pedigree. He's out of a Duke of Marmalade mare, but we'd like to give him one over ground while he's in top form instead of one at the end of the year and say he didn't stay. If he didn't for any reason, we can always back off and fresh him and go the Easter. But look, every rider that's ridden him has just said that he'd run. Matt Cameron gave me a good report after the Group 1 at Wellington and just said more ground. He was just winding up late. So, no, I'm very keen to have a crack over 2-1.
A boutique stable means that you've got a pretty good handle on most of your horses, or all of your horses that you've got under your care, Dids. And we are going to go back to some of those strange methods. Tell us a little bit about what the pair of you get up to on a day-to-day basis in terms of your training methods.
Oh, look, I've used this comic before and copped a bit of stick about it, but look, I'm the conductor. Trent, Tony and Ashley and the rest of the staff, they play the music. Look, we've got a great little team there. We only have 25, 30 horses, and I actually have 20 staff. I know that sounds a lot, but we're very lucky in Awapuni. We have the vet school, and we have some great girls and boys that have come from farming backgrounds that have ridden Horse of the Year that might only do 1 morning or 2 mornings a week. I mean, Sunday staff today, there's 3 girls on there this morning and this afternoon, that all the staff get plenty of time off. So we've got a really happy environment, and I think that comes through with the horses as well.
You must have been happy with the way Sam McNabb handled him. It was an apprentice, claiming apprentice in a group race, so the apprentice claim not in effect, and he did a really good job for you.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, I tried 8 of the senior riders, and some of their managers and the riders already committed had rides. But look, I had no trouble putting Sam on, and he rode with a very old head on him yesterday, and he was a great communicator. He rang me before the race, and we spoke about the race, how it unfolded. He talked about his previous rides, and I was very impressed with the young boy. And I know he battles with his weight, but races like this will help him stay in the game longer, and he'll be definitely getting more rides off me when it suits.
Yeah, and we need those young people coming through, don't we? You mentioned heading off to Adelaide shortly, buying yearlings. If people want to get involved in the Didham stable, how do they do that?
Oh, just email me at dids@didhamracing.co.nz. But yeah, thanks very much for the plug. It always helps.
We are going to plug you a little bit further, because you do mention it's a small team and a great environment for your staff. But ultimately, a lot of these horses that we're seeing come through, the War Princesses, the Shameless Stars, horses that are getting results for you on the racetrack, are horses that you've selected yourself at the yearling sales. What do you go to Adelaide and look for?
Well, we're just trying to buy. We sort of come to the me and Ian Middleton, myself and Ian Middleton. He's a great supporter. He's been with me from day one, and the War Princess people have 3 or 4 yearlings with me every year, so I'm very fortunate they're buying me nice horses and they let us go and buy them. But we're trying to buy horses that are running at 2 and 3 and things like Varves and the size produce at the moment. And that's where the state money's aimed for. And a War Princess, I mean, when she ran 4th at Ellerslie, I've never been so happy to run 4th in my life. She got a $200,000 bonus, and And that's what's keeping us all going, and you need the return on the racing. I'm very quick if they're not performing to move them on, because I realise the cost of racing now, but if you've got good horses, there's plenty of opportunities out there at the moment.
Peter, really appreciated the chat this morning, and congratulations with Omega Boy. We'll be looking forward to seeing him back in the winners' enclosure soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. We're just going to try and chase down a Group 1 shortly, hopefully.
I'm sure it's well within the grasp, but looking forward to seeing that. Great to have Peter on the show, obviously part of the training partnership of Peter and Trent Didham. We get the opportunity to go back and have another look at this race, the Japan Trophy. Omega Boy, of course, taking it out. Sterling Express in second. You kind of thought Sterling Express was home, but Omega Boy coming from off speed to swoop over the top.
Yep, Sterling Express possibly got there soon enough, but a little query at the mile.
Look, I think watching him over the mile in his last couple of outings, that would be my query on him. There is that slight excuse for him yesterday, the fact that he was sort of left in front and he hit the front a long way out. He actually looked the winner, to be honest, halfway down the straight. But I'm just not sure that he sustains his run strongly through a mile. So
maybe ridden quietly. I'd like to give him one more chance before landing on that verdict, but it was a day when it played very much inside, so this was the only race against that bias. So I think there's plenty of merit in both Sterling Express and the winner, both off the fence. So yeah, I think it's a very good renewal. Sterling Express and Carly Alfarasha both have solid group form. Sterling Express has really made a transition to being one of our better Group 1 horses, and there's probably a Group 1 outlet for him next season, if he steps up again on what we've seen this season. He's racing really well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's probably been one of the finds, hasn't he, in terms of what we've seen in some of our feature racing over the last couple of months. So
another good Sham Express.
Yeah, he's producing them, and I think he's a horse we'd all like to see pick up a race at the top level. I think it's just about finding the right race for him.
And the improvement of Omega Boy. He's really gone to a new level lately, and a good-looking horse.
He's a great-looking horse, and look, I'm probably one that probably put a bit of a bridesmaid's tag on him at one point when he just continued to run into the placings. But he's actually putting together a really good record now. He's only had the 22 starts, so he's been looked after. He's been pretty lightly tried. 5 wins, 6 seconds, but I think it's nice that the horse is probably now matured and kicking some goals. So Awapuni Gold Cup looks like a really good target for him, and as the team have suggested, they genuinely think he might be better when he gets out to that 2,000 metre trip. So hopefully there's more in store for him. Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's go back and talk to the beaten jockeys. We kick things off with Sterling Express's rider in Matt Cameron.
Yeah, top run. Ended on kind of half slotting and down the back straight, but it cross stop got a little bit messy and he popped off and probably travelled a bit too good. Obviously Leroy Brown started to drag them back a little bit, so I was happy I popped off when I did, and probably got left alone a bit at the top of the straight, and halfway down he probably just felt that pinch of the 1,600 metres, and he's putting on a horse who wants to be left alone for that long. But I think it was just the calibre of race. There's obviously a couple of smart ones in there, but just having something to chase is probably best for him. But the way the race panned out, that's just what it was. But he tried his guts out.
Yeah, really good run. Got held up behind Leroy Brown today, going the other way. So took me a while to get a gap, but when he got the gap, he found the line really, really well, and looking forward to him improving forward.
Yep, she ran really well. Just the track tripped her up a bit. Tracked into it really well and just struggled in the sort of softer sort of going. Going well, back to a better track, you'll see a really good showing, but she's going well.
Super run. Obviously we've just decided to ride him off the speed with cover from the wide draw, and he's been pretty keen throughout the whole running. I never really got clear until late, but he's got to the line well.
Sam Collett there aboard Cannon Hill, and I guess a good horse to touch on, Bruce, briefly, because made good ground. Yeah, there was a clear advantage to inside runners, and he had to go back to last to find the rail, and he's worked home really nicely. Frank the Tank's probably a little forgive as well. He covered a lot of ground. Get the opportunity to look at the pedigree page for Omega Boy and take in the progeny. Obviously, time test out of a bit of crumpet. Talk us through this, Bruce. Yeah, time test these days based in Turkey with the Turkish Jockey Club. This is a 12th black type win for the time test. Yeah, it's a horse that Ian and Dave Scott, the Homeview Bloodstock team, bred, and it's produced a few winners for them, but this is easily the best horse now on the page as a Group 2 winner, so well done to the team there. So we leave the Pedigree page and we get you off to a break here on Weigh In this morning. Don't go anywhere, because on the back of this, we'll be back to go through the undercard races across the country.
Bedtime Story, Cooper's still there, the inside, they go to the line. Oh, he's got it, Bruno. Bedtime Story.
She's really coming into age. It was a good effort under a good weight.
Oh, shut the gate. Churchillian and Sam Collett, she got that 100% right.
I think she's good, she's very good.
It's Platinum Pantheon in front, drawing clear from a very game Lucy in the Sky, but Platinum Pantheon cruised it in.
Well, we promised you undercard races and they delivered yesterday. Some nice performances to dissect. Let's kick things off with that Owens Plate taken out by Churchillian. And when this horse gets conditions to suit, fresh state, gee, she can really kick away, and she did so yesterday.
Yeah, conditions very much played in her favour. She didn't get much pressure in front. Lead trail affair, and even the third horse has come from back near the rail as well. So a lovely piece of riding, just the way she was rated off the front, and quickened up nicely and ended up winning very well in the finish.
She's been an interesting mare, hasn't she? And I know that Tony Pike made the comment of, you know, she's good on her day, but she's not that easy to find. But when you actually go back and have a look at her record, she was her 9th win of her career, short career really, because I'm guessing she's been plagued by some kind of injury throughout. She won the anniversary, I think, early 2024. We didn't see her on a racetrack for 10 months. She had one run and then spent another 10 months on the sideline. So she literally had one run in a space of about 20 months, and then she sort of just built back into it, this preparation. So yeah, when as conditions, we've said, when conditions suit and she's right, she can be quite devastating, and that's what we saw from her yesterday. I think maybe the track probably played into her favour from what we saw from racing, the way it unfolded, but take nothing away from her win. I thought it was very smart. December, he trailed, he had every opportunity, didn't have the same turn of foot on that surface as what we saw from Churchillian, but Mad Max was the one that I thought was very good. Back last, and he was really strong through the line.
One for the Black Book. Another really good performance on the card yesterday was Platinum Pantheon, the 3-year-old sprint. It was a competitive contest, and there was only one horse you wanted to be on. Looks like this horse has a lot of upside, and as a 3-year-old we can follow forward. Yep,
got in well into the conditions of the race, but this was a decent 3-year-old race. Again, very strong inside rails bias. He comes from the trail to run down Lucy in the Sky, and working home with sibling rivalry along the inside as well. But a strong win. He looked like he had a bit in hand.
He's a really nice horse who I think has continued to develop really well through the preparation. I mean, I first laid eyes on him at Riccarton and he was still quite slight, quite light framed, wasn't holding a whole lot of condition. He's a little bit busy prior to a race, and he did a tremendous effort down at Riccarton during the carnival run time on the track. And when I saw him at Trentham a couple of starts ago, he's really furnished. He's starting to grow into himself a little bit. He's got a little bit stronger, a little bit more muscular. I think he's still got a fair bit to learn. I think mental maturity is still to come from him. I like the fact that Lisa's taken him to Tauranga, got that experience right-handed with him. It'll open up a few doors perhaps for him next
Cambridge
preparation.
Stakes or something.
But he's a horse that I've actually got a fair bit of time for because I really like the development that he's taken in such a short space of time. But goes back again to Lisa Ladder and her ability to find these horses and find them at the sales and not pay very much money for them. He was a $60,000 purchase from the Gold Coast yearling sale from the draft of Rosemont Stud, a son of Hanseatic, who probably Hanseatic was quite a mature horse very early on in his career, whereas this is a horse that's just taken a little bit more time to develop in terms of the maturity, probably why she picked him up for such a a good price at 60,000. But Lisa just has a knack of being able to find these horses, not pay very much money for them, and they seem to go on at stakes level. So I think she's got another nice horse on her hands.
For sure.
Before we get to a look at races coming in from Whanganui, there was obviously a little bit of a bias. We've talked about it throughout replays there of Tauranga when it came to the track yesterday. Bruce, just talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was, with the rain coming, it was not one that I don't think too many people predicted, but this was a really strong rails bias. There was only, I think, the winner of the feature race, Amiga Boy, who didn't touch the rail at some stage in the running. Look at these early races here. Any horse racing off the fence, you're either going to be giving plenty of compensation to on review, or you're going to be playing the forgive card. The rail was a massive advantage.
Alrighty, so something to consider when you're doing your form when it comes to Tauranga on Saturday. We mentioned Whanganui, we need to look at a few races from the Central Districts. We start with that Shanestone Builders Open race. Bedtime Story spread across the track. Bedtime Story got the nod where it mattered.
Yep, and likely heading to something like a Breeders' Stakes, I'd think, out of this, in the colours of the Duchess of Bedford. So great to see those colours with winning success, and this has been a nice mare, well handled by Guy Lowry and Leah as item boss, so they've done a good job with her, and she's back on track at the right time.
It was an interesting race to watch unfold. Cooper, of course, he's got a phenomenal record at Whanganui, so he's back on a track that he has a real liking for. And I just thought that Bruno Quires was really interesting in his tactics, keeping to the inside. He almost pulled it off, but I agree, Bedtime Story, she's a mare that's been really well handled by Guy Lowry. There's always been a little bit of chat about her on the race course. They obviously have hold her in quite high regard and have a pretty strong opinion of her. I think she's a very good horse fresh. We've seen some of her best performances when she's been either first or second up. So early in her preparation at this point is where she's sort of shown her best. That could just be from a little bit of lack of maturity and not coping, going deep into a racing preparation. I think the placement at fillies and mares grade in the Group 1 at Trentham's good placement. She's been stakes placed filly in the past. I think she'd need to continue to improve.
Yeah, it's going to be a heck of a race.
Put her hand up at Group 1 level at this point.
Alrighty, well, the two-year-old contest on the card provided a pretty exciting winner in the form of Ronaldo. This was for Robbie Patterson, and just looks like the finished package. He's got a lot to like about him. Really professional performance here to put himself well and truly in contention for that size produce in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah,
good-looking horse, son of Ribchester the Grey. He's a bit of an eye-catcher, and as you say, does look mature. It's not looking a deep-sized produce, so he's putting his hand up at the right time. That big day at Trentham in 2 weeks' time. Truly Divine had run really nicely in a strong race at Ellerslie, better than the 6 suggested, and he edged away from her strongly late.
Yeah, I quite like him. As you've mentioned, he's got a bit of size and a bit of strength as a 2-year-old, and he's done nothing wrong, has he? Unbeaten in 2 race day outings now. And what I liked about his win is that he jumps the barrier well, he puts himself in the race, and he was pressured right the way through. Basically from the outset, he had pressure on him by Truly Divine. He sustained that pressure, and he actually kicked clear and put a few lengths on the horse quite easily. So I like those attributes as a 2-year-old, and as you mentioned, the size produce is not looking like a strong addition. It's quite an open race this year, so nice placement for him to head down there. Bred by Ron and Shirley Miller, who breed and race him, and Robbie Patterson's done a really good job of handling him. And interesting that Craig Grills was riding at Whanganui yesterday and not at Tauranga, and I think this horse is probably a lot of that reason. So Pinafore, just want to touch on that horse. Obviously warned about its barrier manners. The race was late because it took a fair bit of time to load away, but although the horse is very green, it gave a lot of ground to the winner and was making up ground on it at the finish. So I think one that the penny's still got to drop and it's got a lot to learn, but maybe one to watch.
When we talk about exciting 2-year-olds to follow when it comes to the sire's produce, we have to go back to Matamata and mention Seize the Day, who contested a 2-year-old contest there during the week, and always had a bit of a spruik on this horse, was good at Ellerslie, didn't win, but today was its, or Wednesday was its day, because was very impressive with this performance and understandably came right into the market in terms of that size produce.
Yeah, he's adaptable too. He came from off pace. I really liked his work through the line at Ellerslie, but the other day at Matamata he was much too good for them.
Well, he's a black booker at Ellerslie, there was no doubt about that. The way he went through the line was terrific. I guess the expectation was that he would get the job done during the week, and he's delivered quite emphatically.
What do we do when it comes to a size produce market? Because obviously, as we mentioned, it's reasonably open. A lot of the stars, the Lara Antipovas, the horses that have sort of held that 2-year-old calendar have gone on to different paths. So that leaves room for a new star to emerge and seize the day in Ronaldo, as the market predicts those 2 stars.
Yeah, and what a move it's been. Both horses 41 into 380 and 450 respectively. So you've seen the 2 market leaders, one's coming out of a Matamata midweek and the other from yesterday. Harvey Walbing has been okay. Will he be as good at 1400? That would be a query. That page, it's not a strong Group 1, unfortunately.
I think there is a couple of nice horses heading to the race, as I said, open, and I think once the 2-year-olds step up to 1400 metres too, it's a whole different kettle of fish as well, because they've got to be able to stretch their speed out that little bit further. There's a couple of fillies that I really like going into the race. Sweetest Thing was very, very good up at Ellerslie for Royden Burgesson. I think she's looking for 1400 metres. I think she's going to make a really lovely 3-year-old. And Summer Schemer for the for Sean Ritchie and Con Murray. She was very professional on debut. She's another one that might be able to make the step up as well.
Yeah, she's just flying under the radar, isn't she? That was a really good performance. She beat Seize the Day, of course, in that outing. All right, we're going to get to a break here on Way, and that wraps our New Zealand action. But there's still so much more to come off the back of this. Yesterday at Rosehill was a real entree as to what is to come for Golden Slipper Day. Looking forward to that, as we always do. And we've got some Group 1 action to review coming in from Rosehill, of course, in the form of the Coolmore Classic 1500 metre contest for the fillies and mares. And lo and behold, who wins it? Chris Waller, James McDonald. Do we even need to review these races? They win so many.
We had a quiet day, didn't he? 4 wins in a Group 1 compared to his 6 last week. He's just a freak.
Look, a great result for the stable. Chris Waller's 4th Coolmore Classic in a row behind the Espionas, who got Jin, Lady Shenandoah. So he's certainly making his mark in this race, Chris. James has been aboard the last 3 of those. Look, it was a pretty easy watch, really. She had a nice run in transit, got her out into the clear early. It was just a matter of watching her go through her gears. And James's comments with her is that she just tries hard. She's a mare that knows where the line is, finds the line. She's got a really competitive nature. So she's been on the cusp of Group 1 success. She's been a Group 2 winner on multiple occasions. She was Group 1 placed in the Surround as a 3-year-old. So probably pretty deserving of a Group 1 victory. But Bruce, I thought there were some nice runs in behind her, Vivier being one of those eye-catching runs.
No, I think all credit with the winner, though, carrying 58 kilos in a handicap. She was top weight, so terrific. Another Schnitzel Group 1 winner, as you say, Vivier, Arctic Glamour, both good. The little query, though, coming out of the race, the 3-year-olds underperform. Ole Dancer and Savvy Haley, who jumped favourite.
What I will say about that is, look, Savvy Haley, she sort of took up a handy position. Nash did say post-race, his comments were that maybe it was just a little bit too soon for her and that she wasn't quite ready for a race of that calibre. But when you go back and look at the results of the Coolmore Classic, Lady Shenandoah was the first 3-year-old filly to win it in 16 years. So traditionally, it's not actually been a race where we've seen 3-year-olds be overly successful, particularly in sort of the last decade. So I think a forgive for her. I think she can bounce back because she does look, like quite a talented filly.
I do think we need to dwell on the sort of coming the record that James McDonald is approaching and very rapidly, because another Group 1 off leaves him just 1 away from Damien Oliver, which is remarkable.
How fast does that come around?
Unbelievable. 100 Group 1s. So yeah,
one Group 1 win away from equaling his record, and look, there's no doubt he's going to surpass it now, which is a huge thing to say when you look at a jockey like Damien Oliver. One thing I will say is most of Damien Oliver's Group 1 wins came in Australia. I think 125 of them were Australian-based Group 1 wins, whereas James McDonald, he spread his Group 1s worldwide when you look at his record. And I think he'll end up getting the 125 Australian Group 1s that Damien Oliver has already secured, but it just puts him in rare air, doesn't it, when you talk about the kind of jockeys that are holding records like he does. Yeah.
You just run out of superlatives, don't you? And for Chris Waller as well, because that partnership has been so dynamic between the two of them, and both Kiwis, and we're very proud of that. Speaking of Kiwis, we've got another Kiwi on the phone, and that is, of course, Bjorn Baker. Welcome in to Weigh In this morning. Really appreciate your time. And Bjorn, you must be pretty chuffed with War Woven, progeny of Sword Estate, who was pretty effective yesterday when taking out the Pago.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was great. We've been through the highs and lows with racing with them, so it worked out very, very well. I'm actually, I'll say it out front. I'm Australian now. I've got an Australian passport.
Come on.
McDonald and Waller are still Kiwis, and I think we should, as an Aussie, export them back home. It's very helpful for my business.
He's trying to get rid of the competition.
Yeah, Murray's disowned them as well. Not necessarily a bad thing.
It's a lot easier if I can get them sent back, and that's about the only way I can see beating them. They're very, very dominant, and it's super tough to beat. So it's good. It's what competition's about, and no doubt Chris goes so well. You've got to be better to compete with them. So in a roundabout way, I'll give them the ultimate compliment. I've got to get better to try and be competitive with them.
Great to have something like that to strive for, Bjorn, and you've done an incredible job in the time that you've been in Sydney yourself. And look, you touched on it briefly, but it's been a ride with this horse, War Woven, and to be fair, your other colt that's going around in the Golden Slipper as well. Just tell us a little bit about the journey with him.
Yeah, well, he was bought at the Magic Millions, and of course he was 2 starts, 2 wins going into Magic Millions Day, and was scratched on the morning of the race, and he just was not quite 100%. I thought he was okay to run. My team, we thought he would have been fine, but those are those 50-50 calls, and at the end of the day, the horse's welfare and priority comes soon. So he was $1.50 favourite, I think, with current form post-race. He probably would have gone very close, but you can't look backwards. You've always got to look forward. So it was then it became obvious we had to try and get him into the Magic Millions. Of course, he's a well-bred colt by the New Zealand-based Sword Estate, and he was an expensive colt. He's got a great attitude, a very good demeanour about him, and he sort of had to win or run top 3 yesterday to get into the race, which we thought he would probably get in after the Magic Millions because he had 1-2 starts. But this year, you definitely have to have probably a little bit more prize money than you've had in the past. So there's definitely pressure on yesterday. It was do or die, and he was able to take luck out of it. It was a good ride by Rachel King, and thankfully he brings up the second horse of the stable in the slipper.
Bjorn, how's he come through it? It's a quick turnaround to next week. That's the key.
Yeah, so far so good, and with a horse like him, my vet met him back at the stables after the race, has had a good look at him, and you don't always know straight after the race how they do pull up, but he looks to be pretty good, and we'll just keep a close eye on him. I guess the positive is we don't have to do too much with him into the slipper. He'll be able to have a very easy week. He's got that good base fitness, and going into a high tempo race, he's probably going to be, if not the fittest, close to it. May even consider putting the blinkers on, just trying to, it's a bit of a risky play into a huge race, but it's something we may have to think about it. He has galloped in them before and gone well.
Tell us a bit about the ownership group, Bjorn. They're a big part of your stable, Steffi Magnetica, the Ridgemont party.
Yeah, Cunningham's and the Cunningham family and Ridgemont, the same entity, and they've been very good. I'm great mates with Mitch, one of the sons. We went back to New Zealand last year and did the Rakiura trail run on Stewart Island together. And it's 32 Ks, about 1,200 metres up and down, and he tagged me for about the first 28 and then just dropped me like a hot potato. The moral of the story is there's no friends in war, and he still reminds me about that. But they're great fun. I've got another big owner in this horse too, a guy called Ken Saligit. He's got a big plasterboard company. So on the way to Warwick Farm, I go past his business every day, and I make sure all his trucks are out so he can pay his bills, but he's a great man. And of course, Kiora, who bred the horse, have got 25%, and they won the fillies race half an hour before. So a really good bunch of owners and good friends. And likewise with Paradoxium the week before, who also goes into the slipper. Cunningham's have got a big chunk of him, of course, their colours, and a really good loyal bunch of clients, a few characters in there as well.
Well, you mentioned Paradoxium. We were going to touch on him. He's sitting a little bit higher in the market at the moment compared to Warwoven. How do you compare the colts leading into a Golden Slipper?
Yeah, it's funny. It's look, they're like children. They're all your equal and your same, and we don't have favourites. But even in the stable, there's a bit of debate as to who's better. I guess the common attribute they've both got great attitudes. And they've both got an impeccable record. So he's a very nice horse as well. He's a very well-bred son of Extreme Choice. And I thought his win in the Todman was excellent. Of course, he went up to the Magic Millions too. He was going to run in the Bruce McLaughlin 2 weeks before, and he got very severe travel sickness, and which meant that essentially he got pneumonia, and he was very, very ill. So even to get back to winning a race like the Todman like that was a phenomenal effort. He's just got a great constitution, and if he could win the slipper, I'd say in terms of where he's come from, it's very, very special. So it's exciting to have two there. I thought it was a really good Todman in terms of where he was at. He was fresh up over the 1,200, and he was able to have a soft enough time in front and just sprint home. So I don't think it would have gutted him, and I'm sure he's still on the way up. There's improvement there.
You went oh so close in another of the races yesterday at Rosehill, the Ajax Stakes with Robusto, who ran a blinder. Tell us about that, Bjorn.
Yeah, and he's been a marvellous horse. He's bought online by Derby Racing, and you talk about good syndicators and clients have been phenomenal for me. And he was bought off the Inghams and actually won the Ingham a $2 million race. And yesterday was more about just warming up. There's not a lot of options for him. He's done a marvellous job, but he's very much up in the weights now. So he's going to head towards the Doncaster. I thought it was a really, really good race. And you talk about Derby, of course, they bought a horse as well, Cabalis, that won the Newmarket last week. So they just keep delivering nice horses to the stable.
Bjorn, no one cheers home a winner better than Bjorn Baker. It's becoming the stuff of legends on social media. Did you learn that from your father, Murray?
Yeah, he said, I'm not sure where that came from. I'd have to go back into the family tree. So, no, we're pretty opposite. As I said, I'm an Aussie now. There's no such thing as humility in Australia.
I've had one of Bjorn's backslaps post-victory, and it just about put you on the floor, I tell you. No, Bjorn, we really appreciate you coming on the show, and we can't wait to see a Golden Slipper celebration, and we hope that's what happens when it comes to next week.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me, team, and hopefully you can get me back on. It's always a positive when you're on this, so we'll catch up soon enough.
We'll lock it in. We'll lock in a Golden Slipper chat next Sunday morning. I'm not sure he'd be as willing with the time difference. It might be a little bit of surely a celebration post a Golden Slipper. Yeah,
hasn't he done great, really?
Well, you talk about, you know, expats that head over to Australia and, you know, do a wonderful job. You know, he's one of them. And what we do so well in New Zealand is create really good horsemen and horsewomen, and they can go anywhere in the world and they stand out. And just what's happening in Sydney at the moment, Bjorn Baker, Chris Waller, James McDonald, Jason Collett, Alicia Collett, you know, there's a lot for us to be proud about when we see people that have begun their careers in New Zealand, had their grounding here, and go across into a jurisdiction like Australia and New South Wales and can be at the top of their game. So they should be really proud of themselves.
And it's not just, obviously, trainers and jockeys, it's actually stable staff throughout, stud staff. Yeah, something we can be really proud of across the whole industry. Let's look at some of the other races that came in from Rosehill. Pembrey, of course, the winner of the Magic Night Stakes, and good to bounce back and get this victory for Pembrey.
Yeah, different kind of race this. Warwoven was solid tempo. He's run slightly quicker at 110.41, but a slower closing 600. This was more sit and sprint, but she was a better horse in front there yesterday.
And I think they learned that when James McDonald had his first sit on her last start, when she was beaten as the favourite. She was so impressive in her dominant debut win in Queensland. Obviously brought her down here with an eye of maybe getting into a slipper, and didn't quite work out for them last start, but straight to the front today, dictated terms, and I think we saw the best of her. Just a shout out to Kiora starter as well. I know that we heard from Bjorn Baker, they bred and have a share in Warwoven, bred and retained this filly to race too. So she looks like a nice filly in the making for Tony Golan, who doesn't mind travelling a horse when he's got a good one.
No, he sure doesn't. The Far Lap Stakes, we saw 60s come back through an Australian Guineas back to Sydney. Far Lap Stakes success, and that's a nice 3-year-old. Obviously that Asakura form reference as well.
Yeah, I
for
was
the
just
Kiwi.
going to touch on that. The Asakura form line, the NZB Kiwi ran terrific in that race. Asakura coming from back, 60s in a prime spot, sitting second. A bit of a Kiwi touch too with the third horse, Salam Master. It's out of Moe Bell, a half to Melody Bell, and the red colours working home for third.
Yeah, look, he's a really nice horse, 60s. He did a great job in Melbourne, won the CS Hayes, and then was really good in an Australian Guineas. He's a full brother to Artorias, so she's a Mia Gracie's lass who's doing a wonderful job at stud, slightly different type to Artorias, who was sort of kept to those sprint distances. But just going back again, waxing lyrical with James McDonald and Chris Waller. It was Chris Waller's 9th win in this race, James McDonald's 6th win in this race. So look, the records that they're putting together and the way the history books are going to look when you look back in another sort of 20 or 30 years, it's just incredible what they're doing.
There's a look at the Doncaster Mile Market. She's now by Autumn Glow, Autumn Boy, heading up Proceedings 60s there, 15s in 2/8. We're going to press on because we talk about Kiwis doing us proud on the international stage, and we had some world rankings released, and what do you know? An expat Kiwi is top of them. That's Ka Ying Rising, of course, who, well, he needs no introduction, does he? He is a sprinting champion and he's breaking all records in Hong Kong.
Yeah, extraordinary animal, isn't he? Ka Ying Rising, 128, and the only ceiling on that 128 at the moment is that he's meeting the same horses, and Zach often doesn't ride him out, so that it's a little bit of juice left in the lemon there in terms of what we can see from Ka Ying Rising, and he could go higher.
Interesting, Bruce, that the two horses ranked at the top of those World's ratings both come out of Hong Kong too.
Possibly just the time of the year. We're only obviously March, so that those ratings will develop as the year goes on. We've got hopefully the World Cup in Dubai in a couple of weeks' time, but they're developing. Europe is obviously just coming out of winter, but really good figures, and he's actually gone to a new mark at 128.
Exciting stuff, and very proud for us here in New Zealand. A break on weigh-in this morning. That wraps up racing reviews. On the back of this, we get to NZTR CEO Matt Ballesty.
My first impressions coming to Awapuni, it sparkled up and the track, well, it looks fantastic, but there is that little bit of nervous anticipation here today.
We're back in business at Awapuni. Ready to go, set, and we're back, baby. They're off and running in the first of the day.
There was a slip in the first on the program. First race back here at Awapuni, and the meeting has been abandoned. Joined by head stipe Neil Goodwin, and look, we came with a lot of enthusiasm this morning, but clearly it was a clear and obvious slip in the first.
Kate Hercock's out dark and dusty, improving around the outside. Slipped clear of interference.
So obviously a little bit of an overview there as to what unfolded with the Awapuni track, and with that in mind there was an update during the week, and we've invited NZTR CEO Matt Ballesty onto the show. Matt, a very good morning to you. Obviously we just got a brief overview as to what unfolded. For people at home that maybe aren't across the Awapuni situation, could you just go back over the past 12 months and set the scene for us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I started, Emily, on the 7th of March last year, and I think it was a month later I was sitting there watching the TV because I couldn't get to Awapuni that day. I know everyone was very excited and talking it up that this was going to be a great return to racing, and I, being fairly new, was excited as well until I saw that slip and then the races abandoned. So I knew what everyone had banking on that, and it was a huge disappointment. I just remember feeling really bad for the teams and everybody who put so much effort and time into it, from what I had understood. And we had that slip. We then had some meetings just around what transpired down there. There was a fellow who was involved at the time, sort of doing some consulting work, Liam O'Keefe. More engaged up north with Ellerslie with their Strathair track, and Liam hadn't been formally engaged by NZTR, and I thought that was an oversight. We needed to have somebody like him, if we're listening to his advice, on the payroll and working for us so that we can hold him accountable to also some of these things, not just have a sort of goodwill volunteering type situation. From that, we held a number of meetings. There was obviously a lot of people very upset about the outcome and what had occurred, and that was quite obvious. And while I acknowledge that, and I think everybody affected was well and truly right to be so, we then looked to the advice of the experts and said, well, what do we do with this track? And there was a view that upon first review, the track itself had been constructed in a way that, to Liam's own admission, was something he hadn't seen before. However, there'd been quite an investment in that track, and the advice also from them was that, well, we need to get in there and have a look and see what we can do and see what we can make of this track, because whilst it wasn't something that had been seen typically before from his experience, the view was that, well, we didn't have X amount of million just sitting there to rip it up and start again. We had a track there that by all intents and purposes presented in some really good manner. So it was about going through and seeing, what could be done with the track itself. Now that's been a process. Everyone involved has worked incredibly hard. I commend the race board and the leadership there in all their efforts, working with Liam, with the track manager, Daniel, etc. We did a lot of verti draining. We put some machinery in. I'm certainly not a track expert, but I've learnt a lot in the past 12 months about verti draining and softening tracks, etc. And there were times where the efforts and that work presented, in a real positive light. And the feedback was that, one day the track would present in a really good order, and the next day or a few days later it could present in another order. So there was some real concern and analysis done on the roots of the grass actually getting into the surface below. And with all intents purposes and a lot of effort, we almost got to a point where there was some confidence that we could even trial down there. Not too long before that occurred, there was a slip. Yes, a horse was jumping at the time. But the advice was, look, we really think that the next options here are to do a bit of band-aiding. We could spend a few $100,000 on moving some soils together and seeing what we could get, or we could just appreciate what it is and start again. Salvage what's been done really well, and there's a lot that has been done well. The drainage, a lot of the cambering, and a lot of the structures that are in place are deemed suitable, and it's about resurfacing the top layers of that track now. So the decision was made that we couldn't just keep kicking the can down the road and making it hard for trainers and people to plan, and that racing down there on the advice of the experts, and also I believe, not to put words in RIB's mouth, but that would be their view as well, that we just couldn't risk it. And there are people like myself and others who, we don't want to see anything bad happen. Should something bad happen, we're responsible, and it's our duty to try and make sure that we've got surfaces that we've got real confidence in. So it's not the ideal situation. The reason things take a long time, I've learned, is that soil samples and agronomists take time. We made the decision, would have been late November, early December, to engage an agronomist at NZTR's cost to get that process underway. And those things over the Christmas period and whatnot take time. I only got a report probably early, mid-February, just before our board meeting, that was a more detailed report as to what would be required and the timelines and the cost associated with that. It's really important for me that our board got that first chance to have a look and understand it, and then I took that to the race board, so that the two entities were the ones who understood what we're facing, and we could make plans and decisions around that. It's very difficult to do it that way, because obviously there's a lot of people, good people, who would like some answers, and I've come to know a lot of the CD trainers really well. It's great to see Dids have a win the other day with Amiga Boy down there at Tauranga, but yeah, they're good people, and they just are frustrated and so passionate about that area. It makes it really difficult. But I don't want to come out with mistruths. I want to come out with facts, and put us on a footing that means we don't repeat this again.
You make a very good point there around truths and facts. Just want to talk about the funding and how you're going to fund what is coming up, obviously, Matt. So could you tell us a little bit about that, where the funding is going to come from?
Yeah, well, I can say NZTR doesn't have money sitting around that's not strategically necessary. We have to look elsewhere for it. And at the moment, not to sour some of those discussions, Emily, we do have some options, and we're working through those. We hope to have some traction on what that might look like in the coming weeks, but I can only sort of work through a process of sourcing some funds for that. Ideally, we don't want to be selling off anything, which diminishes the potential of strategic land holdings in the future. But yeah, I've got a couple of things that we're just working through at the moment, so I'll have more of an update probably in a couple of weeks.
Matt, I know that a lot of key decisions around Awapuni were made before you stepped into your role, and there are positives. The track will eventually be a great track for the Central Districts. The camber's great, the irrigation is terrific, but there was a fundamental mistake made at the beginning of this project, which is the reason why it's been so ongoing. Do we get any accountability for that? How do we make sure that doesn't happen again? What are the learnings around this project?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Jane. I mean, the key things we focus on is the learnings. I spent some time with my board a number of months ago, probably midway through last year, and said, look, there are different options here. How much time do we want to spend going after why? And I think it's important we do that. But we need to focus on what to now. And so we have spent time on why. And what I'll say on that front, and obviously, there are avenues that we're looking at around accountability, and I don't want to sort of soil those, commercial discussions that will be had, but there were some failings just really across the board. And I want to just preface it with, I wasn't here, but I can't see that anybody got up of a morning and had a shower and got ready and said, I'm just going to go and stuff this up. I mean, there were really good intentions from all and sundry involved. I think the glaring issue was that some of the people who are involved, companies involved, just weren't specialists in building racetracks. And it's a bit like if you're going to put a pool in your backyard, you hire people who build pools, not people who have had really good experience around things that are similar to pools. So I think what we learn from it is that we rely on advice and input from those who have done it before. They have a CV that reflects that they've done it before. Every project has its issues, whether you're running casino hotels or building your renovation at home, you do run into issues. It's about when you do have an issue, there's fail points where you stop and say, well, wait a minute, that's a change from where we're going. What do we all think about that? And I think in some cases, there was a lot of urgency and a lot of aspiration to get this right. And I think that maybe pushed things in a direction that probably, upon reflection, some would look at it differently.
Obviously, when you have issues like this, there are people affected by it. Have you personally spoken to the trainers involved at Awapuni? Because I think ultimately the trainers in the central districts are the ones that have been so heavily affected. We've had Hastings out of action, Awapuni out of action, and it's been a really tough time for trainers in that jurisdiction.
Totally understand, Jane, and you could lump Hastings into this a little bit as well, where for a long time it just sat there with no real, what are we doing? And we've had a slip there. Yep, it was a long time ago. What's actually going on? So, look, I've got to know a lot of the trainers down there. I've been down to Awapuni now, a number of occasions. I've had, probably a good part of my time in the chair at NZTR focused on Awapuni and the central districts. And I think, it's easy for me to sit here and say I understand it's tough, and I do. However, my job and that of our team is to just get this ship right and get it back on the path to a successful outcome. And you do that by mitigating your risks and understanding your learnings. Jane, you touched on it: the drainage, the cambering. The irrigation, all those things are really positive. And in a lot of ways, the work that was done by Liam and the team should be commended to the local teams down there, to the patients of the track workers, to the patients of the trainers and everybody else, is that, there's some good things that have happened. Some good people have done some good things. It's just not going to give us a certainty.
Matt, really appreciate your time this morning. I know it's not easy to front on these topics, but we really appreciate you coming on weigh-in this morning, and hopefully we can catch up with you on other industry matters in the future. Matt Ballesty there from NZTR. Very grateful to him for coming on the show. We don't have long. We've got to wrap things up. We kick things off with our moments of the week. Jane, start us off.
Mine was just watching the continued partnership of James McDonald and Chris Waller. They picked up another Group 1 victory yesterday at Sydney, 3 winners in partnership. And when you look at their results at a Group 1 level, I think they're sitting on 52 Group 1 wins as a partnership, getting very close to the 54 that Tommy Smith and George Moore had together. So it's pretty incredible that we're talking about them in the same sort of way as we talk about the great Tommy Smith and George Moore.
Yeah, I'm with Racing Tauranga and the job they do on their big day, the Ultimate Mazda Japan New Zealand Trophy, the international guests, and they really turn it on, and great scenes on track, and they always get a good crowd. They do a great job there.
Yeah, they sure do. Always a place to be, isn't it, Tauranga, when they have racing? For me, it was the Central District's shining this week. It was obviously a win for Omega Boy and the Didhams, and of course Lisa Latta taking out that 3-year-old feature as well, so well done to all of them. We also have to get our Weight Watchers out the way for the week, and horses that we've black booked and noticed. Jane, who have you gone for?
Andorra had won 3 in a row and was a short price favourite, beaten at Gosford yesterday, but it was an absolute horror watch, and I imagine the horse will bounce back from the family of Vito Dara, so one we know well here in New Zealand.
Centurial from Friday at Pukekohe worked home well in an on-speed race, fastest closing sectionals and good overall figures, one to watch.
And I went for Amira D'Argento from Tauranga yesterday. Should be third up at a next start, went against the bias and made some good ground late in the rating 75. Well, that's us, done and dusted for Weigh In on your Sunday. Make sure you join in next week, same time, same place. We can do it all again.